Hello and welcome to my channel. Today I've got a quick and easy project for you today. You can use any of these techniques in any of your art and you'll be happy with the results. I figured we just all needed a little easy this week. So here I just have a little square box that I got at a rummage sale, and it was black. I covered it with some white gesso, and I'm putting down this beautiful patterned napkin, and I'm getting some of that matte medium on the back and on the top of this napkin. Isn't the pattern here just gorgeous? Now I wanted to make sure that I didn't cover up too much of the pattern. You know, sometimes that happens when you start going and all of a sudden you're like, oh dear, I can't even see what I started with. Sometimes that happens. But I wanted to make sure we had the pattern in the background here. So I went ahead, like I said, and used some matte medium, and I'm going to let that dry. Everything's dry now, and we're going to push the pattern back just a little bit with some of my white gesso, and I'm using a dry brush. The idea I had here was wish. That's all I had on my mind. I was trying to do online classes this weekend. I had computer problems. I had my computer crash. I had just unbelievable problems, and all I could think about is wish. I wish that this was over. I wish I was smarter at this. I wish I could have made this work. But instead of complaining about it, crying about it, which I really wanted to do, I thought, well, I'm just going to create a piece because I had to get my mind off of it for a while. So I'm using a Sean Petit stencil here, and I am just putting it over that white gesso and lifting it up with a damp towel. This is a great technique, and like I said, these techniques that I have in this video are super easy. You can use them in any project, and they are perfect for any arsenal. This I'm just using a stencil brush, and I'm going with some green archival ink over the green portion of this stencil. This is another stencil from Sean Petit, and I will link all of her stencils below. This one was a Valentine's Day stencil, and of course it's not just for Valentine's Day. You can use it anytime during the year. And this one is called Pattern Hearts. The last one with the numbers was called Number Jumbo, and I love using that one. Here I'm going to put some red Deco Arts paint down on my paint palette, and the color that I chose was a really neat Santa red. Well, as you can see, it's not covering enough for me. I wanted it to be a red, true red heart. So I put a couple of coats down of the paint, and I'm just using a makeup sponge here, and it wasn't dark enough for me. So I went back, used some Simon Says Stamp Premium Dye ink and another of those makeup brushes, and I am going ahead and using Schoolhouse Red. I wanted that heart to be true red and deep and full of life. I wanted this wish that I had to be right out there in front. So you'll see that I get that darker, and I go ahead and use that Schoolhouse Red paint. Here the yellow that I have in a makeup sponge is going to be a Delta Ceram Coat paint, real inexpensive, and this color is antique gold, and it works out just great. And I will mix a little bit of that red paint into my yellow paint to make the orange centers of the flowers. Here I'm trying to add a little bit more red, and like I said, it's just not dark enough for me. So there, I went and I used that Schoolhouse premium dye ink and a stencil brush, and I went over it again until I got it as dark red as I wanted. Now I'm just using a small brush and I'm going around the heart to push that pattern back a little bit. It felt a little busy, and I'm going to just smudge that gesso out a little bit with my fingers so that it's not this straight line around the heart. I wanted it to look like it was just covering the background enough, maybe glowing a little bit, and everything could blend in nicely together. I felt a lot better after I created this piece, and I think that that's just what's going to be my salvation. I am going to do online classes. I am going to do it. I am going to figure it out, and I am not taking no for an answer. So tomorrow I will be working on another online class, and if you do feel that you're interested, I will be starting to list my online classes on my website. You'll be able to see a link below, and I'll keep you informed as they start to happen here. I had lots of computer problems, and it turned out to be quite a spendy fix for me. Having my computer guy for 1 hour is $69 right away. So I'm glad to have him. He's very knowledgeable, and you know, there's just lots of things that can happen with computers, and you just have to roll with it. It's not the end of the world. We'll get it together and we'll get it figured out, right? So enough about that. I'm using some of my favorite color green, and if you watch my channel, you know that it is by Deco Arts, and it is avocado green. And I am just going ahead and adding a little bit of water to that, and I wanted to do kind of like a little tendril coming out of that leaf sprig there. I covered the leaves with that green because I wanted it to be all the same color and bring all of that together. I'm loving how this is turning out now. All right, we're gonna need to let that dry, and now I'm trying to figure out where I'm gonna put that wish, and this is one of Sean's new stencils, and obviously I'm just using a small little portion of it, but it is called Make a Wish Dandelion, and oh my goodness, this is going to be so much fun. I'm going to try and work with this next week and create a nice piece with it, and having those dandelions are going to be really, really fun to do. So I used my archival ink, a stencil brush, and I used that word wish that came from that stencil. I let everything dry, of course, and now I'm going right over the top of it with my burnt umber acrylic paint and my water to make a wash. I did add a little bit of that gold paint in the top right corner, bottom left corner, and I just put it on with my finger there, just adding a little smudge of paint, just kind of giving it a little bit of interest in that top and bottom corners there, pulling it all together with that yellow flower in the middle of the piece. Dabbing it off with my piece of paper towel there and getting it exactly how I like it. Now I'm using my black Stabilo pencil and some water, and I'm going around the heart to give it some dimension and some shadow behind the heart so it looks like it has a lot of nice dimension. And I'm going to use my 6B Extra Soft charcoal pencil. I'm using my small brush and some water, and we are going ahead to do all of that shading. I do have a video just on shading because I seem to speed right through it when I'm working on these pieces. The shading takes the longest time, so I will link above in the end card here that video on shading, so you can go ahead and check that out if you would like a little bit more practice on there. And that's all it takes. You just have to practice. Just like me in this video situation, my online videos, I'm gonna have to keep practicing until I get it right. And then maybe in 6 months, it'll be super easy. I'll be able to do it. I'll be able to make a little bit of money doing it, and everyone will be happy. I appreciate you hanging out at my channel, and I appreciate your comments, questions, and definitely would love for you to check out my online classes as soon as they get started here. So I will let you know. Excuse me. Going back and forth, making the shading on this piece work for me, dragging that dark paint out a little bit, and I'm going to work on it and get it till how I exactly like it. I received this stamp in the mail today while I was working on this project, and it has kind of like cheesecloth, and so I thought that pattern was going to be really great, where there was kind of a blank area on the top left of this piece, and once I started using it, I couldn't stop. I really liked the texture, so I just kept going with it until I got it how I liked it. Being careful not to smudge it and giving it a dry so that we had it all finished together. And we're going to do the black edge around the piece, and I really like it. And here we go, just smudging it with my finger. And here I'm using a black marble crayon, and that is very inexpensive crayon. You can get it at Michael's now, which is quite nice because you can buy them individually. You don't have to buy the whole set. But I will link it below if some of you like to do some online shopping. There'll be a link below for you provided. So I was not too happy with that flower. I thought I'll just add a little paint and I'll just make it work for me. So I can see the background, I can see the foreground, and I can see that my wish is going to be granted. Thanks for watching. Thanks for your support. And we'll see you again next Tuesday for another mixed media project.